The opinions expressed during this show are not necessarily those of this station's, its employees, or advertisers, but are solely the opinions of the host and the guests that appear on the show. It's time now for Tea Party Talk with Tom Z, hosted by Tom Zawistowski, president of the We the People Convention and executive director of the Portage County Tea Party. Get ready to become a totally engaged American who is informed about the critical issues that are affecting the welfare and individual rights of all Americans today.
S&K Asphalt and Concrete has been serving residential, commercial, and industrial customers since 1988 with quality paving services. The experts at S&K Asphalt and Concrete have the knowledge and experience to meet your paving needs. From parking lots to driveways to repairs and resurfacing, S&K paves the way. Call today for a free estimate. 330-724-9090. That's 330-724-9090. Or visit online at skasphaltconcrete.com.
Are you concerned about your family's safety? Now, Target Thing Pro Shop is a female-friendly gun shop, range, and training center. Target Thing is in Garrettsville. We're on the web at targetthing.com. Target Thing is where they offer guns, ammo, and training to help you keep your family safe. It's Target Thing Pro Shop.
Fed up with politicians who care more about special interests than people on Main Street? So is Opportunity Ohio. We're working hard to solve Ohio's toughest challenges so Ohioans can create more jobs to grow our economy. See our plans and consider a tax-deductible contribution at opportunityohio.org. Invest $25 for a signed copy of Matt Mayer's book, The Founding Debate, Where Should the Power Over Our Lives Reside? Please visit opportunityohio.org.
Well, good morning, and welcome to Tea Party Talk with Tom Z. I'm glad to have you with me once again this week, and all those who are watching the live stream of the video of the show as we're taping it on Wednesday mornings at 10:30. Good morning to you. For all of you listening on WHLO 640 in Akron, Ohio, on Saturday mornings from 9 to 9:30, welcome to all of you as well. We're glad to have you with us. And, of course, we have people listening on iHeartRadio nationally at www.640whlo.com. And welcome to our friends out there in Colorado and in Pennsylvania and over in Texas and Florida. We're getting quite a nice following for this show, and we appreciate that. You got some folks down in Pittsburgh who are really good followers, send me emails and things like that. And if you want to send an email to me, if you want to ask a question or make a comment, you can do that by sending me an email at tomz@teapartytalkwithtomz.com. And you can obviously visit the webpage where you can listen to the archives and view the archives of the show. And we invite you to do so. I think, I would be remiss as an Ohioan if I did not start the show today by talking about our Ohio State Buckeyes. How about those Buckeyes, folks? Was that not one of the most incredible seasons of football you've ever seen in your life? If you're a football fan, the ratings came out, and it was the largest, most viewed television show on cable TV in history. It was the seventh largest audience to ever watch an event on television. Over 33 million people watched the Ohio State Buckeyes defeat Oregon 42-20. And the reason it's for conservatives that it's such an incredible event is because sport is such a clear affirmation of conservative values. And you go, what do you mean by that? How can you bring that into sports? But it really is. I mean, think about it. What does sport teach us? Sport teaches us that it's about hard work and that you can overcome obstacles. That through hard work you can achieve your goals, and that's what conservative values are, right? It's about accountability for your actions. The Buckeyes turned the ball over 4 times in that game. You know what the odds are of winning a college football game when you have 4 turnovers more than your opponent? It's like 20% chance, and yet the Buckeyes persevered and won the game handily, and those are conservative values. If the liberals, that's why the liberals hate sports, and that's why they're trying to kill sports, and that's this whole thing about concussions is about, and these attacks on the NFL and trying to bring political correctness in the NFL. Because folks, they hate the fact that sports teaches conservative values, and the progressive movement started trying to destroy sports back, when I was raising my kids 25 years ago, when they went with this garbage about, the best players don't get the trophies. Everyone on the team gets a trophy because they all tried equally hard. That's garbage. You saw what excellence was this week when you saw the Buckeyes play Oregon, and both teams are tremendous teams, tremendous athletes. And so, the liberals, what they would do is, if they were running sports, is when those two Oregon players, dropped those passes, they would have said, oh, give them the ball there anyway, because they meant to catch those passes. Or when we fumbled, when we had that interception where they bobbled the ball and then the Oregon player intercepted it, well, let's just give it to them. That's what liberalism is. It's unreal. It's utopian. And it's, quite frankly, stupid and dangerous. And sports teaches conservative values, all right? It teaches you that you can overcome anything. How about like losing 2 Heisman Trophy quarterbacks and still winning the national championship? So celebrate sports. It protects sports. It's important to our country. It's what makes America great. And those are the values that sports teaches, and it's something that's very important to our culture. So we're very excited about the Buckeye win, but we're also very excited about the conservative values that prove how valuable they are to people's individual and collective success. In other words, not just a few players succeeded, the whole team succeeded because of the efforts of individuals. That's what conservatism is. Liberalism is collectivism. It is, everyone's equal. No one gets any extra credit. What you earn doesn't mean anything. That's what liberalism is. Don't be a liberal. Be a conservative. And I think you can see why by the Buckeye win. Last week we were talking about oil, and I think it's important that we continue this conversation because I talked to you about how it was first and foremost a national security issue. Well, in Venezuela, they are standing in lines trying to get groceries, trying to get detergent, trying to get toilet paper. Just, kind of like the old Soviet Union, right, folks? And remember when all those libs in the United States were talking about Hugo Chavez, this real hero of the left because he was taking on America and calling us out. Well, Venezuela gets like 85% of their national income from oil because what happened? Hugo Chavez took over their entire oil business, took all the private companies and basically stole them, had the government take them. And now oil's down to $50 a barrel, and their oil's not worth so much, and their economy's collapsing. And so once again, the left is proven wrong. Their socialist, communist ideas are proving wrong, and that's really an important thing for you to know. And last week we talked about some other things like how the Saudis are trying to respond to this. I talked about how fracking brought all this oil and gas into the marketplace in the United States, and how we, the Tea Party, played a role in that, and how you, as private citizens and private individuals, sold their rights and their property to private companies, which got that oil out and helped bring our gas prices down, what we're all enjoying. Well, Saudi Arabia is reacting, as I said last week, and they're trying to cut the price of oil so that American companies would suffer. But we've got a great thing going here in Ohio, and that is that we don't just have oil, we have gas, folks. And so oil manufacturing and shale drilling jobs are expected to increase in Ohio in 2015, continue to grow, because not only are we getting oil out of the ground here in Ohio, we're also getting gas. And the Saudis don't have gas, folks. And that's another very valuable asset. And also, as I explained, that as the economy finally turns, once we get rid of all these Democrats and these liberals in our government, and we start to have a free market economy again and let entrepreneurship flourish by getting these ridiculous regulations off our back, there's going to be more need for oil and gas. Because, folks, energy is power. Not just power to light your lights, but it's economic power. It's what makes everything else happen and makes it possible. And it's what makes America a world leader. And again, that's why the left is attacking oil and gas, because the president obviously doesn't want the U.S. to be a world leader, as he proved when he didn't show up in France for the all the leaders protesting the killings in France. We're going to talk about that in the second part of the show. So we've got gas coming. But let me explain to you. I talked last week about how John Kasich and the Senate and the House are not Republicans. They're not conservatives. They don't believe in the Republican Party national platform, which says drill, baby, drill in the Republican Party national platform. Let me talk to you about Keith Faber, who is the president of the Ohio Senate. Okay? Here's what Keith Faber had to say at a Chamber of Commerce event over Christmas. He said about the fracking tax, which he and John Kasich want to jam down our throats, and which we fought back and stopped them from doing a while ago, last year or the year before. As for the drilling tax, Senate President Keith Faber said, I have not yet begun to fight, but we can't let these companies take our valuable stuff out of the state and not pay for it. John Kasich and the Senate and the House are not Republicans. They're not conservatives. They don't believe in the Republican Party national platform, which says drill, baby, drill in the Republican Party national platform. Let me talk to you about Keith Faber, who is the president of the Ohio Senate. Okay? Here's what Keith Faber had to say at a Chamber of Commerce event over Christmas. He said about the fracking tax, which he and John Kasich want to jam down our throats, and which we fought back and stopped them from doing a while ago, last year or the year before. As for the drilling tax, Senate President Keith Faber said, I have not yet begun to fight, but we can't let these companies take our valuable stuff out of the state and not pay for it. After I recorded my radio show, I found out that Keith Faber didn't say that. John Kasich did. The NPR website that you saw on your screen that said Keith Faber said that made a mistake. And when you listen to the audio, you'll find that John Kasich said that. And this is what he said. Listen what he said. He said, we can't let these companies take our valuable stuff out of state and not pay for it. He should have added the word comrade after that. John Kasich, what are you talking about? Who are these companies? Who are you talking about that aren't paying for it? Because in Ohio, the oil and gas companies are paying private property owners a lot of money for these lease rights. But guess what, Governor? The state of Ohio doesn't have any stuff. In the United States of America, we have a thing called property rights, Governor. If you were a conservative, you'd be familiar with that. That's what makes America exceptional. Because for those of you listening on the radio and watching the video, in most countries around this world, you can't own private property. You, a private citizen, don't own property. The government or the king or the dictator owns other property. But here in Ohio, you have property rights. And with those property rights, you have mineral rights. And those mineral rights include oil and gas, Governor. We own it, private citizens, not the state. And those companies are compensating us. So what are you talking about, comrade? The only oil and gas the state owns is in the state parks and state-owned land. So why don't you drill there, and instead of raising the severance tax to say you want to give us an income tax cut, why don't you start drilling and earning some money so you can cut our taxes, Governor? That would be honest. Instead, you're picking losers and winners and losers. We're sick and tired of you lying to us. And then if you listen to the audio, Keith Faber may not have said that, but then he talks about working with the governor to see what they can do. Keith, what happened to you? You were more conservative than I when I met you at the Allen County Tea Party. You were for workplace freedom, smaller government, lower taxes, and now you're talking about working with the governor on a severance tax? Stand up. This is ridiculous. Governor Kasich, you're just wrong. You have no right to this money. It belongs to private citizens. It belongs to the taxpayers. That's what it belongs to, not you, Governor. You have no right to this. Stop this insanity. Quit making government bigger. Quit taxing. And so then we've got our buddy Keith Rosenberger, right? Our Cliff Rosenberger, our new House guy, right? Who I wrote to a letter to Mr. Rosenberger when he was named House Speaker, and I told you what a fixed deal that was about Governor Kasich. And I said last week, that Rosenberger was a stooge, that he would just do what Kasich said. But he went to a meeting in Cincinnati last Friday, and he said emphatically that I am not the governor's man and that I would make my own decisions as Speaker. And I wrote him a letter that said, I assure you that I will be the first to send out a press release praising you as a man of your word when we see you actually stand up to the governor on an important issue like Common Core, religious freedom, or the severance tax, right? The tax on oil and gas. I said, let me also say that while those in the political class clearly have no idea what I or the Tea Party movement are about, I can assure you that all we want from you as Speaker is for the voices of our duly elected representatives to be heard in the people's house. That's what we want from you, right? And I said, I'll be surprised when I see you, Cliff Rosenberger, stand up against the governor. So guess what happens? On Friday, he says he's his own man. He's going to stand up to the governor. Yeah, well, yesterday, this week, he announced the people who are going to be his committee chairs. And he just happened to leave a guy named Dave Hall off, who was the chairman of the Agricultural and Natural Resources Committee. Yeah, and Dave Hall was the guy that was fighting against the severance tax when we defeated it. Yeah, so much for standing up to the governor, right? Because you just took the governor, told you what you're going to do, because you're going to jam that severance tax down our throat, you and Keith Faber and Governor Kasich and the rest of you liberal commies. We'll have more about oil and gas when we get back. You're listening to T-Bar Talk. And so then we've got our buddy Keith Rosenberger, right? Our Cliff Rosenberger, our new House guy, right? Who I wrote to a letter to Mr. Rosenberger when he was named House Speaker, and I told you what a fixed deal that was about Governor Kasich. And I said last week, that Rosenberger was a stooge, that he would just do what Kasich said. But he went to a meeting in Cincinnati last Friday, and he said emphatically that I am not the governor's man and that I would make my own decisions as Speaker. And I wrote him a letter that said, I assure you that I will be the first to send out a press release praising you as a man of your word when we see you actually stand up to the governor on an important issue like Common Core, religious freedom, or the severance tax, right? The tax on oil and gas. I said, let me also say that while those in the political class clearly have no idea what I or the Tea Party movement are about, I can assure you that all we want from you as Speaker is for the voices of our duly elected representatives to be heard in the people's house. That's what we want from you, right? And I said, I'll be surprised when I see you, Cliff Rosenberger, stand up against the governor. So guess what happens? On Friday, he says he's his own man. He's going to stand up to the governor. Yeah, well, yesterday, this week, he announced the people who are going to be his committee chairs. And he just happened to leave a guy named Dave Hall off, who was the chairman of the Agricultural and Natural Resources Committee. Yeah, and Dave Hall was the guy that was fighting against the severance tax when we defeated it. Yeah, so much for standing up to the governor, right? Because you just took the governor, told you what you're going to do, because you're going to jam that severance tax down our throat, you and Keith Faber and Governor Kasich and the rest of you liberal commies. We'll have more about oil and gas when we get back. You're listening to T-Bar Talk with Tom Z.
I'm Nick Skiriotis, president of S&K Asphalt and Concrete. As a Greek immigrant who came to America legally, my family and I have lived the American dream of freedom, hope, and opportunity. But that dream is fading due to an out-of-control federal government that is mixed up worse than a soup sandwich. We have a president who is putting more and more regulations on businesses, which is stomping economic and job growth. Government has taken more and more of our freedoms. They have taken over our health care and are trying to take over our schools with Common Core. We as Americans must wake up. Get involved before it is too late. We must fight to preserve the America our founders created, a nation that was founded on faith, family, and freedom. The fight is not easy, but anything worth fighting for never is. Our founders paid a heavy price for freedom. 5 of them did not live to see the independence they were fighting for. 9 of them were tortured. 12 of them lost everything they owned, and 3 of them lost their families. Now it is our turn to sacrifice and to fight to preserve our freedoms and the American dream. I am Nick Skiriotis, president of S&K Asphalt and Concrete, and I approve this message.
Hi, this is Amanda from Realize FAC. Are you a prepper? Do you know one? We're holding our first annual Preppers Ball at the Arena Complex in Talmadge. $10,000 worth of prizes, food, drinks, speakers, networking. Realize FAC has it all. Pick up your tickets in person at the Fin, Feather, and Fur or Grape and Granary, or go to the link that Tom Z provides after this message.
Fed up with politicians who care more about special interests than people on Main Street? So is Opportunity Ohio. We're working hard to solve Ohio's toughest challenges so Ohioans can create more jobs to grow our economy. See our plans and consider a tax-deductible contribution at opportunityohio.org. Invest $25 for a signed copy of Matt Mayer's book, The Founding Debate, Where Should the Power Over Our Lives Reside? Please visit opportunityohio.org.
All right, and we're back, and you're listening to Tea Party Talk with Tom Z, and we're glad you're back with us this week. And we were just talking about oil and the hypocrisy of the supposed Republicans in Ohio, and and I just can't express the frustration we feel with these liars that we elect who run one way and then act another way in government and don't even know what conservatism is. It's just unbelievable. But I love also to show how the left is always wrong and how we can overcome their stupidity. And there's something that should be on your radar for everyone out there who really is involved with the oil and gas and fracking and been watching that and what a great thing it's done for our country, and it's going to continue to. Because remember, the geniuses, right, all these liberal scientists, all these people who get federal grants that skew their point of view and don't have the intellectual honesty to tell us the truth about global warming or about oil and gas. Remember, they told us, we just can't have coal. Coal is bad. Can't have coal. Got to kill coal. President Obama said, you can build a coal-powered fired power plant, but we'll put you out of business. Well, here's a nice little nasty surprise for our president here, because guess what? There's a new thing coming out. Just 5 years ago, almost no one outside of natural gas industry had ever heard of fracking, even though the basic technologies were not new. Today, the shale gas revolution has transformed America's energy markets with profound effects for economic growth, competitiveness, and as I said, security and environmental quality. In other words, the air is cleaner, folks. The air is cleaner, but we have more energy. Wow, how can that be? In a nation still deeply concerned about energy future, the extraordinary success should prompt the question, can we do it again? Fracking is just starting, but what's after that? What can we do? Is there something else out there? And the answer is yes. If we correctly understand both the model for innovation for shale gas that it exemplifies and an opportunity that now exists in the emulate the shale model, that opportunity involves a technique called enhanced oil recovery, EOR, enhanced oil recovery. Like fracking on the eve of its success, this concept was virtually unknown to most Americans, yet it rests not on pie-in-the-sky technology dreams like, solar power and electric cars that don't work, but it relies on proven technologies that companies have been developing for decades. Like fracking, enhanced oil recovery has the potential to recover a staggering quantity of hydrocarbons that were previously known but considered inaccessible. So let me give this to you because this is really cool, what it's really about. I never knew this. You probably don't know this at all. But every oil well that's ever been drilled in the world of the United States, they only get about 30% of the oil out of it. Because as you pump the oil out of it, the pressure drops, and it gets harder and harder to get the rest of the oil out. So like 60% of the oil is still in every well that we ever drilled. So guess what they've been doing? They've been pumping carbon dioxide into these wells. And because it's carbon, it actually helps to break up the oil when it's in these little crevices and stuff. And now they're able to get like another 50% of the oil out of these wells. And so they're pumping carbon dioxide into it. But here's the best part. See, they have a problem. They don't have enough carbon dioxide. And if we're going to do this and tap into this, we need more carbon dioxide. Well, geez, where could we find that? Where could we get carbon? Oh, I know. How about from coal-fired power plants? How about if we captured the carbon coming out of the coal-fired power plants, pumped that into existing oil wells, and recovered even more oil? Guess what environmental is? There's no pollution from the power plants. It all safely goes into the ground and gives us even more oil. Let the coal revolution begin, folks, and the left is wrong once again. So now I'm going to go on to another very important and serious topic, and that is about the Islamic terrorism and what happened in France. As we all know, there was a horrible tragedy in France where all these people were killed at this magazine for doing a cartoon of Muhammad, okay? And all these world leaders got together, and our president didn't show up because he was too busy watching football that he couldn't go to stand with the rest of the world leaders and embarrassed us because he doesn't want to stand up to the Islamics, okay? He doesn't want to call them what they are. And folks, it's real simple. And I'm going to play a clip for you now that will explain to you what you have to do to defeat Islamic terrorists. And there's a guy, Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, who was on Bill O'Reilly's show, and he had this to say.
When pundits and politicians address the terror issue with foolish platitudes like terrorist acts will not inhibit our freedoms. Hey, wake up! They already have. These people are killing human beings at a frightening rate. The civilized world cannot or will not stop them. Joining us now from Orlando, Florida, Colonel David Hunt. From Washington, Lieutenant Colonel Ralph Peters, both of Fox News analysts. All right, Colonel Peters, how do you get these guys? What do you do if you're in charge?
Straightforward. 1, you accept that you are in a war. 2, you name the enemy, Islamist terrorist. 3, you get the lawyers off the battlefield and out of the targeting cell. You accept there will be collateral damage, and you do not apologize for it. You do not nation build. You don't try to hold ground. You go wherever in the world the terrorists are, and you kill them. You do your best to exterminate them, and then you leave, and you leave behind smoking ruins and crying widows. If in 5 or 10 years they reconstitute and you've got to go back, you go back and do the same thing, and you never send American troops into a war you don't mean to win.
Okay? You can't say it any clearer than that, folks. And, some of you listeners may be shocked and say, oh, my gosh, that sounds horrible. But, folks, war is horrible, and evil is horrible. And I've talked to you on this show before about this book, The Last Lion, about Winston Churchill in World War II. And I told you that this book had a profound effect on my understanding of what war really is. Not what it's in the movies, but what it really is and what evil really is. And Winston Churchill talked in his book about evil. And he said, you don't have a choice whether you're going to fight evil or not. In his case, he's talking about Hitler. You don't have a choice to fight Hitler or not. You either fight Hitler or he will kill you. You either fight evil or it will destroy you. You don't have the choice to leave him alone. And all those people in France, those millions of people who joined together and they were singing John Lennon's All We Are Asking Is Give Peace a Chance. Folks, that doesn't work. You have to fight. And we need to learn how to fight again. Because they are going to keep coming until they either kill you or we kill them. It's that simple. In his book, The Last Lion, Winston Churchill was quoted as saying, for all of you who think that war doesn't solve anything, he said virtually everything that's ever been solved has been solved by war. There's a reason that there's war. And when I said that this president doesn't want to fight the Islamics, that he's sympathetic to their cause, here's some proof of that. A lot of you will forget about this. But when the president came into office, he returned to England the bust of Winston Churchill that was in the White House. He gave it back because he did not want to have that in the White House. He hates Winston Churchill. We love Winston Churchill. Winston Churchill saved the world. And we need to step up and learn from Winston Churchill. And we need to learn from Cardinal Peters. And we need to grow up and be adults in the room. Look at the stupidity of what's going on. In France, they have these no-go zones, 29 places in France where Sharia law is taking place. What the heck are you talking about? And it's not even just in France. In Sweden, they've got 55 no-go zones where people live in their country and don't follow their laws. What are you talking about? That's what this whole crap about multiculturalism is in our country. Multiculturalism is bull. It shouldn't exist. We are the melting pot. Multiculturalism is against the melting pot. It says, you know what it says? It says, I want to play for the Ohio State Buckeyes, but I want to wear a Michigan uniform. That's what multiculturalism is. That's not what we're about. You can have your beliefs, but you melt in with the rest of us. That's what America's about. That's what makes us great. Okay? And so we have, here in Ohio, we're trying to pass this thing that's called American Laws for American Courts. Matt Lynch put that up in Ohio for the Ohio House and the Senate to consider. What does it mean? It means that our judges, our legal system will follow the U.S. and Ohio Constitution. He couldn't get it passed. The commies like John Kasich and Keith Faber and Cliff Rosenberger wouldn't pass a law in Ohio that says judges have to follow the Ohio Constitution because that's too radical. Are you insane? The answer is yes, we are insane. We're immature. We're ignorant. We're plain stupid. And we elect people who are stupid and dishonest and disingenuous. The President of the United States takes advice from a group in America called CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations. What a nice name. And you'll see them on TV all the time. These people are terrorists. They support Hamas. Their leaders have been convicted of crimes. They conduct jihad in the United States. That's what they are. And we let them do it. It's like Al Jazeera Television, which our buddy Al Gore sold his cable TV network to Al Jazeera, which is a jihadist network. And we're letting them on your cable TV, and you're paying for it. You're paying Time Warner or DirecTV so you can have jihadist TV, and we can maybe indoctrinate some more of these people. We've lost our minds. Stand up. You got to fight for your freedom. And when someone says they're going to kill you, when they look in the camera and say they're going to kill you, they mean it. They mean it. They're going to kill you unless you kill them first. People only understand power, folks. You're not just going to discuss with this, 1,000 years they've been preaching this. They're teaching kids who are 3 years old how to cut your head off. You're not going to just have a conversation with them and they're going to say, wow, you're really smart. Now I'm going to give up my beliefs and I'm not going to kill you for being an infidel. Get with it. We are getting with it in several other areas. It's kind of fun. We talked about this whole transgender thing that was going on in Cleveland before the holiday, where I don't know what sex I am, so I should be able to go into the girls' restroom or the boys' restroom because today I feel like a girl even though I'm a guy, right? We talked about that nonsense. Well, there's a big backlash going on. And in cities all over the country, they're getting wise to this. In Starkville, Mississippi, they threw that out. So that was pretty cool. So we are wising up. I want to remind you about the event on January 22nd. The Medina County Conservative Coalition is going to show the Dinesh D'Souza movie, America, Imagine the World Without Her, at 7 p.m. at the Great Oaks Seminar. And that's the one where Dinesh D'Souza is going to be on Skype to talk to you, and it's free. So be sure to go to that. And don't forget to get your tickets to the Preppers Ball by going to Tea Party Talk with Tom Z and clicking on the button there that says Get My Tickets. Thanks for joining me this week. I hope you learned something, and we're glad to have you, and we'll be back next week.